stocks or dividend stocks. This is a coupon bond basically that just goes on forever. So this is a combination of bonds from the first part of this lesson and perpetuities from the second part. So I'm just going to totally simplify the stock process. Obviously, it's always more complicated. So to simplify, we're always going to sell right after we get a dividend payment. Why do we do this? That makes this ordinary. If I do it that way, then I'm only calculating ordinary perpetuities, and that's always going to be easier. 2. Now here's the big if. Assume that our dividends are a constant number. And this is a really big if. If you guys know anything about the stock market, you know that stocks go up and down. The dividends will change as the company does better or worse because dividends are part of the profits, and that is not going to be a constant. But for the purpose of assessing fair market value, we say, hey, the payment that's going on right now will probably go on forever. At the easiest, stocks are really just the easiest, simple, ordinary perpetuities. You purchase some preferred shares that have a semi-annual dividend of $1.25. How much should you pay for the shares if the interest is 5% compounded semi-annually and the first dividend is in 6 months? This is going to be a simple, ordinary perpetuity. So our interest rate is 5% compounded semi-annually, or 2.5%. And this is a simple, ordinary perpetuity. One note, I've put in some semi-annual ones here to make it more similar to the ones that we did earlier. In general, stocks tend to be quarterly, so expect to see quarterly payments and compounding. So let's look at this. Our fair market value is the present value, which makes it payment over I. In this case, that's going to be $1.25 divided by 0.025, or let's work this out, 1.25 divided by 0.025, $50. So those stocks are worth $50 each, and every 6 months you get a check in the mail for $1.25. Let's try it again. You purchased the shares in question 4 for $50 each. I'm going to write in each. And then interest rate rises to 8% compounded semi-annually. How much would you make or lose? And here it's going to be per stock because we don't know how many stocks there are. Our new fair market value, as the stock market has changed, is going to be $1.25 over our new periodic interest rate. 8% divided by 2 is 0.04, which gives us $31.25. That's how much each stock is worth. So that means we have a loss. I'm putting in brackets here capital because this is a capital loss of 50 minus 31.25 per stock, or $18.75 per share or per stock. Why would I say capital? Because if I have actually held on to the stock for a while, I've gotten a bunch of payments, and we don't use those payments when we're computing the profit and loss. That's more for tax reasons, and I'm not going to get into that. Just know here we're only looking at the value, not of those dividends. How much money would you make or lose if the interest rate was now 6% effective? And we're just still going to assume the first dividend is in 6 months. That makes this an ordinary perpetuity, but it's no longer going to be simple because we get payments twice a year, but we compound once a year. So now this is going to be a general perpetuity. Anytime it's general, we are allowed to convert that interest rate using interest conversion, but it's easier just to use the calculator. Again, future value is 0 and N is going to be 1,000 years, which is 2,000 payments. It's 2 times 1,000. And why do I do that? Multiplying by 2, it really does mean that the round off is less than a cent in almost all cases, and we don't get into trouble for using what's really an approximation method or a trick. Going into here, I'm going to start with my PY/CY, set my PY to 2. My CY has changed, so I'll make that different. I always like to scroll around there, make sure I did it properly. Our N is now 2,000, and our interest rate is 6. Present value is what I'm computing. $1.25 is the payment, and I need to make sure that I put in 0 for the future value. Compute the present value, and now I get a fair market value of $42.28 per share, which is still a loss because I bought them for $50. So I'm taking a loss, and that's going to end up being, well, let's make this negative and add 50. $7.72 per share is our loss.